good evening, and welcome to this latest episode of Foxes Unleashed. I'm Ryan, and we got some breaking news that has that came through, as you can see there on the top end of the screen. That came through within the um, last hour or two, something like that. Um, only just well, only found out about half an hour after it came through, I think. Um, the news has come through that after a long 3 weeks of being without a manager, we've finally got our man in place. Gary Rowett is our new Leicester City manager until the end of the season, which I think is the best we could get really. Because there weren't many options available really. And also Callum Davidson has joined as well as his assistant as well. So we've got two former players managing the rest of the season now. Um, I sort of kind of find it quite refreshing actually because a little bit because um, I I was lucky enough to watch them play when I was growing up um, during my childhood days. Um, so I think it's quite I think it's quite refreshing that the likes of seeing two of former players that played for us back in the day now taking charge for the remainder of the season. I know it's not the position that most of our fans wanted us to be. Um, we're now really scraping the barrel really in the championship. We're down in the relegation zone, points deducted obviously. We've been in a mess as we all know. Um, but all we can do now, obviously, is and despite how shit the players are, as we all know, and they've been not been good enough for a long time now. All you can do is during the match day try and even though they don't really deserve it, by the way, try and back the team as much as you can. That's all you can do really. What's happened has happened. Um, Even though the players don't even deserve our support really because of how shit they've been, all we can do really is try and support the team to try and get us to survival for the remainder of the season. Doesn't mean that you can't um, you can put the plans in terms of protests against the hierarchy to bed. No, it doesn't. You can still everyone can still proceed with with its planned protests prior to the games, it, or even after the matches. Um, Particularly pre-match, you can definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, protest. No problem with it. Outside of the ground, um, and you could potentially hold banners up in the stadium prior to the matches, but when the game is in progress, you have to support the team. Um, that's all I can say on that. Obviously, I'm not going. Obviously, I'm not there any longer. But when I'll be watching the games on the stream, um, I'll definitely support support the team as much as I can, even though it is very difficult knowing what the group what that group of players are absolutely like. And hope Gary and Callum try their absolute best that they can to try and get any kind of tune out of them if they can, because they have absolutely no idea what they're getting themselves into. But so I'm not gonna. If the worst happens, I'm not gonna blame those two entirely because of the fact that they're walking into a really difficult situation and having to inherit a group of players that have just constantly let us down week in, week out, and seen off far too many managers. So, anyways, now we've got that out of the way, take this down. So, what I've got planned here for the rest of this stream tonight is that I'm going to do a bit of a, because I've done a bit of work on this the last day or two, and that is the presentation about Gary Rowett, and obviously towards the end, more to do with the fixtures and the what the implications can be. So let me just get it up for you. So just bear with me a second. Okay. So let me put this on the slideshow. There you are. So this is the presentation I've got about Gary Rowett. So Gary Rowett to Leicester. The survival mission for the remainder of this season is, so he's taking charge now. He's been confirmed on a short-term contract at the end of the campaign, with the main aim of keeping the club in the Championship following our points deduction, marking a return to a former club where he once played. Obviously, he played for us, Gary Rowett, from 2000 to 2002. He was with us for 2 years, to the end of the final season of the old ground industry. So, why Leicester turning to Rowett? Well, the reason why is now is because they've considered him as they look to address an urgent situation with the team involved in the relegation fight after financial penalties and underwhelming results during the interim period under caretaker boss Andy King. With the season entering a decisive phase, the club's focus now is on restoring the structure, confidence, and consistency as quickly as possible. Rowett's profile aligns with those needs. He is widely regarded as a championship specialist, known for building an organised, disciplined teams that are difficult to break down. His experience in challenging circumstances means he is seen by many as a dependable, pragmatic option, someone capable of stabilising performances and maximising the chances of survival over the remaining fixtures. So, really, what that means is that he'll be more than likely, I think, to set us up and with a low block, if you like, and try and make us hard to beat, compared to new contrast to the other styles that we've been using, which I'll move on to in a second as it goes on. But yeah, I think at the moment we're at the minute just scrapping at the moment. So I think it's the best we can hope for, really. Um, so his managerial profile. So he has built his reputation across multiple championship clubs that have included Birmingham, Derby, Stoke, Millwall, and Oxford, gaining recognition for his ability to improve organisation and competitiveness, particularly in challenging situations. One of his most notable achievements came in Derby County, where he guided the team to a championship playoff semi-final, reinforcing his credentials at that level. He is often viewed as a manager capable of stabilising teams that are underperforming or facing the pressure. His key strengths lie in tactical adaptability, strong defensive structure, and the ability to extract solid performances from squads without elite resources. However, his approach has sometimes drawn criticism for being cautious or conservative, with entertainment value occasionally sacrificed in favour of results and control. Now, I think in the position we're in, I think we need to settle. I think we have to settle being conservative, really. I don't think, me personally, from what I've seen, I don't think we're good enough to play this possession-based style. I don't think. It has been shown all season we're not good enough to do it. So, I think this style of play is the only route to go to try and get us out of this mess with performance in terms of performances on the pitch. But you have to see how it goes. Now, his tactical philosophy. This is a key one here. So he typically favours a pragmatic and adaptable tactical approach, most commonly using a 4-2-3-1 system, which is the system we've used most of the season, while also employing, and this could be a key factor here, employing back three systems such as a 3-4-3 when it better suits the available players. He has consistently emphasised flexibility, often adjusting shape during matches between a back four and a back three to respond to game situations. His teams are usually built around a compact defensive structure designed to limit space and reduce chances for the opposition, combined with quick, direct transitions when the possession is won, rather than relying on an aggressive, high-risk press. Rowett prefers a more controlled and organised pressing approach that maintains team shape. Set pieces are also an important component of his strategy, both defensively and offensively, as a way to maximise scoring opportunities in tight games. Now, I'm not saying this could happen overnight very, very quickly, but I think after a couple of games, you might see notable tweaks they may make to the team. So I'm hoping that he may work out, because obviously the first thing he needs to do is to get us a clean sheet for a start. That is the first real aim, to sort the defence out. Try and get us to keeping a clean sheet. Now, what Rowett might do with Leicester. Now, that I know certain viewers will be wondering, why have I got that picture in the bottom right up from the other game, Newcastle Tottenham? Well, I'll explain in a minute. So, after I've read this, so if we know it's appointing now, but Gary Rowett will be expected to focus first on stabilising the team by improving defensive organisation and giving players clearly defined roles within a consistent tactical structure. Restoring confidence and mentality will be a major priority, particularly in a relegation battle where results and momentum are more important than attractive football. Tactically, this would likely involve a slightly deeper defensive line to reduce vulnerability, the use of two holding midfielders to protect the back four, and a more pragmatic attacking approach built around efficiency rather than possession dominance. The overall aim would be to make the team easier, harder to beat, and capable of grinding out points during the run-in. Now, the reason why I brought this picture up is because of how a defensive line is set up. Because we're going to be using the 4-2-3-1 most likely, I think, still. But the reason why is because I'm more or less expecting to see this kind of setup that Gary Rowett may implement, and which is what a compact shape is, which is 4 at the back, 5 in midfield, 1 striker, out of possession. So what basically this is that the midfield is within a couple of yards in a decent shape in front of the back four, and I think that is the shape that we need to set up with, in my opinion, where we don't have the ball, because we've been a little bit too high at times and been caught out too often. We've been caught out too much trying to play a bit of a high defensive line, which ain't good enough to do it. And now, when teams have counter-attacked us, specifically the Oxford game, it's Martin Cifuentes' final game in charge, where the second goal we conceded in that match was absolutely horrendous. Played straight into their hands, and that needs sorting out more than anything. So that's why I got this up. So of how a defensive line and a compact shape should look like, has to look like in the middle of the pitch. So, most of the appointment. So, this will offer, in terms of the appointment, Gary Rowett, he will offer Premier Championship experience, particularly in situations where stability and short-term results are the priority. His teams are typically well organised defensively, which could help address vulnerabilities very quickly and make the side more competitive in tight games. The pragmatic nature of his approach also suits the club's current circumstances, where survival is more important than long-term style development. In addition, Rowett has previous experience managing clubs under pressure in relegation battles, which could prove valuable psychologically for the squad. Many former players and pundits believe his structured coaching and clarity of the roles would allow him to improve performances rapidly and get more out of the existing group in a short period of time. Now, the cons and the risks of this would be that is because he's not viewed as a long-term progressive appointment, but rather a short-term solution to the immediate problem. His recent sacking from Oxford United, while the club was near the relegation zone, may also raise concerns about momentum and whether he can quickly reverse a difficult situation. There is also the possibility that his pragmatic defence-first style could prove to be unpopular amongst the fans, who are mainly accustomed to more attacking football. Most significantly, with limited matches remaining in the season, he would have very little time to implement changes, which will mean results would need to improve drastically, almost immediately, to achieve survival. So the key question is, can he keep us up? Well, the central issue surrounding the appointment of Rowett is whether it could guide us to survival in the limited time available. On the positive side, the squad still possesses a level of quality higher than many relegation rivals, and Rowett's experience managing teams in high pressure environments could help bring structural resilience during the run in. However, significant challenges remain. The points deduction, which is 6 points, has created an immediate disadvantage. Confidence within the squad may already be fragile after poor results, and the small number of games left reduces the margin for error. Ultimately, survival will likely depend on how quickly he can improve defensive stability and convert performances into consistent points. So the verdict on this, the appointment of Gary Rowett's appointment would clearly be a short-term results-driven decision by the club, focused on securing championship survival rather than building a long-term football project. The priority would be immediate stability, organisation and enough points to avoid relegation during a difficult period for the club. If the move proves successful, we will remain in the Championship, after which the club could decide whether to continue with Rowett or pursue a different long-term direction. However, if results do not improve quickly enough, the risk is severe, with the possibility of relegation to League One and the financial and sporting consequences that will follow. Now, this now is a comparison, Marty Cifuentes and Gary Rowett between them. So, this appointment now of Rowett now represents a significant stylistic shift from our predecessor Marty Cifuentes. So Cifuentes normally favours a possession-based progressive approach built around structured build-up play, fluid positional rotations and a high defensive line, which is what we saw. As I alluded to one example against Oxford, where it was caught wide open from a corner kick. The other one was against Preston earlier on in the season. We lost the game by being caught high up the pitch on the transition, and we lost the game as a result. So his teams often use a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 with heavy involvement from fullbacks and midfield rotations to create overloads. He also encourages pressing higher up the pitch and maintaining control through short passing sequences. In contrast, what we may see from now our new manager Gary Rowett, his style is typically more pragmatic and results focused. While he also frequently uses a 4-2-3-1, his approach prioritizes more defensive organisation, compact shape, and quick transitions rather than possession dominance. His teams often seek deeper, defend in structured blocks, and look to attack more directly when opportunities arise. So more or less, we might see more counter-attacking type of football really, with a defensive structure. So from a performance perspective, both managers have relatively similar career points averages, around 1.7 to 1.48 points per game. But Rowett's reputation has been built largely on stabilising clubs and improving defensive structure, whereas Cifuentes is viewed as a coach focused on long-term development and playing style evolution. Squad usage also differs. Cifuentes tends to rotate roles and prioritise technical players suited to positional football, whilst Rowett is more likely to rely on trusted core players, physicality and tactical discipline, particularly in relegation battles where consistency is crucial. However, the comparison highlights a move from philosophy-driven project manager to a short-term problem solver aimed at securing championship survival. So the key players that could benefit under your boss. So that's mainly on social physicality and defensive discipline. So defensive midfielders, i.e. Oliver Skip, a double pivot system would suit his strengths in positioning, ball recovery, and protecting the defensive line, protecting the back line with simpler passing responsibilities. The centre backs, i.e., for example, Yannick Vestergaard and Jamal Lascelles, Rowett's deeper defensive block will reduce space in behind defenders like Yannick Vestergaard and Lascelles, who but both of them don't really possess any pace, really. So that might suit them both. Sadly, Yannick Vestergaard, though, is out for a lengthy period of time, which is unfortunate. Because this type of style would probably have suited him. And the sales is obviously out for another week or two, maybe. So it also emphasizes aerial strength and organisation with fit, small physical defenders. Also, direct forwards. So faster transitions and earlier forward passes could create more opportunities for strikers attacking the space rather than relying on slow possession build-up. So overall, players who thrive on defensive solidity, duels, and counter-attacking situations are most likely to benefit in the short term. So in terms of the attack, the counter-attacking situation, I think passing Daka, I think for me, is the best player for it. So I think Daka would be most likely to be the starter in the Rowett, I feel, hopefully, because the style of player I think will suit him. So this is our remaining matches. So we've got Stoke away in a few days, then Middlesbrough in midweek, then Norwich at home, Ipswich away, Bristol City at home, which is then QPR at home, Watford away, Preston at home, Sheffield Wednesday away. I think, well, my assumption is I think we'll win that. Swansea at home, Portsmouth away, then Hull at home, Millwall at home, and then on that same day, the 10th anniversary of having won the Premier League, we're away at Blackburn, away, last game of the season. So, survival winning. So, projected points versus the analysis of the fixtures. So, historically, the projected safety target, the championship survival usually will require 46 to 50 points. With us currently on 32 points after 32 games and the points deduction, we may likely need probably 18 to 22 points from the final 14 games. That equates to roughly around 1.3 to 1.6 points per game. So we need to play that. Our form has to be during the running a mid-table type of form. So our form's got to be where during the running where we'd be mid-table. So that's the aim really. The visual difficulty assessment. So several games against direct relegation rivals are critical, like 6-pointers. The home games especially will be important. The pragmatic start often produces stronger home results. The away games against promotion-chasing teams are realistically lower probability wins, so points must come from winnable fixtures, i.e. like the Blackburns on the last day, Sheffield Wednesday away, you've got to win that. So the realistic points path, and Portsmouth as well, including that, we've got to play them away. So the realistic points path, 5 wins and 3 draws, or 4 wins and 6 draws could be enough, I think. So 5 wins and 3 draws, I think, will depend on our relegation rivals. And alternatively, 4 wins and 6 draws could also be enough, depending on our strong defensive improvement. So ideally, I think we need to win. I think we need to win 5 or 6 games. I think, as I've said all along, I think we need to win 5 or 6. I think to keep ourselves away from danger. So the key risk factors are: confidence is already fragile after a poor season, little margin for error due to the deduction, limited time for tactical changes to fully embed. Survival is achievable, but requires immediate improvement. Strong results in relegation head-to-heads and solid home form. What we can't afford to have is a poor month. If we have another poor month, then survival looks more difficult. So, to finish off, long-term implications for Leicester as a club. If we avoid relegation, the priority would shift toward financial stabilisation and a controlled rebuild. Remaining in the Championship preserves significantly higher revenues than dropping another division, giving the club a platform to restructure the wages, refresh the squad, and appoint a longer-term managerial project. Survival would also help retain key players and protect the club's overall market value. However, well, Rotaro may be the most likely one that's going to be a bit more difficult, but hey ho. However, if relegation to League One occurs, the consequences will become far more severe. The revenue will fall dramatically and very sharply, forcing major player sales, wage reductions, and a leaner operating model. The recruitment strategy will likely reset toward younger, lower cost assets, and the club's broader sporting strategy will need a full rethink to recover momentum. Relegation could also damage the reputation, make the future promotion attempts more difficult. Overall, the stakes extend beyond this season. The outcome will shape the club's financial health, squad composition, and strategic direction for several years. And that's that. So let me just deactivate this. Just bear with me a second. There you go. So yeah, there you go. That's my assessment on the situation we find ourselves in. So Gary Rowett now is our manager to the end of the season. Like I said earlier on in the show, all we can do now is try and back the team as much as we can, even though the players don't deserve that for so much shit they've put us through all season, really. But for regards to Rowett and Davidson, now they've come through the door, they need the support as much as we can give them. So all we can do is just hope for the best. Doesn't mean the protest won't. You shouldn't do the protest and that kind of thing. You can still do that, as I said earlier, because I fully support that. Because it doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form that top can get away with this. Because this process should not have taken 3 weeks. I'll go back to it. It should never, ever, ever have taken that long to finally get a manager in place. Because we basically have chucked 4 games away. 3 in the league and 1 in the cup. Chucked them away. Like we did a couple of years ago after we sacked Brendan, we chucked 2 home games away. Where we could have, had we got a manager in place, we could have stayed up in the Prem that first relegation year. That I just feel like they just don't learn the lessons really, the hierarchy, and when it comes to the amount of time it takes to come to making an appointment, it just isn't good enough. If you're planning on sacking somebody, you have to have a replacement ready, lined up, ready to come in and take over. If you're planning on sacking that certain manager in the dugout, you do not let it drag on for that long, like 3 weeks. I mean, if people try to justify it, then they're talking nonsense. It should never ever drag on that period of time and wasting a lot of games. It's just ridiculous. It doesn't. That is a further evident proof that it's not the way to operate at a club. Best clubs, when they sack managers, they get someone ready to come in, ready when the agreement's in place after initial discussions. Look at Forest, as I said before. Sean Dyche gets the sack after the Wolves game the other week. Then within the space of 48 hours or something like that, within a few days, Vitor Pereira's in. That is succession planning, right? That it's not like they wasted their time and taking too long. They didn't just sack somebody within the blink of an eye and without fully assessing the options around. They did assess options around and found somebody ready to come in with agreement in place. And Vitor Pereira's at Forest now. He's there. But yet, what do? We wait 3 weeks. That's not good enough. That's poor planning. Shit planning. So for me, I think this doesn't. Yes, finally we got the managerial thing sorted out now. But for goodness sake, this does not mean that Rookin and Top get away with this lightly. It should never have taken 3 weeks. We had almost an entire month without a manager, and that for me is not right. Not fair on Andy King. Felt sorry for him a little bit, having to be put in that situation that he was put in. Wasn't fair on the poor man. It's not fair, and finding now he's learned a little bit from this, and now he can get back to doing the coaching. So yeah. Anyways, I'll end it there. Thank you to the viewers that have listened to this stream tonight. So finally, we've got a manager now sorted out to the end of the season. Like I said before, we'll have to try and back the team for the rest of the season, even though the players don't deserve it. Because now we've got that sorted out now. Try and just hope for the best that we can. Hope for the best that we can. Though I don't trust the players, you just got to try and back the team as best you can. And regarding the protests, keep doing it. Just keep doing that. If you want to protest against Top and the ownership, then you do it. You have my support on that, because I think the same. So, yeah. Anyways, Thank you for listening in tonight. So until then, catch